The next project on our 65 Chevelle was to straighten out or repair or replace the driver's side rear quarter panel. This car had been hit in the rear, not real bad, but enough to dent up the quarter panel, and it showed evidence of a previous repair job that wasn't done very well, and it had some holes in it and just lots of dings and dents the whole way. So, you know, in all reality, it probably could have been straightened if somebody was going to spend the rest of their life hammering, dollying this thing out, or if you wanted to put, you know, 2 inches of body filler over it. But we elected to start over and use a new quarter panel, which just became available from OPGI. So this allowed us to repair all of the damage in one shot by just replacing the whole thing. You got to be sure that you support the car properly. We like to make sure that they are supported as if they were sitting on the wheels and tires. In our case, we removed the rear wheels, but we supported the rear axle on jack stands so that it was simulating the proper load, so that it wasn't being picked up in a corner on a jack stand unusually high, which would preload the body and give us alignment problems later on. The first steps to doing this job actually don't really involve the quarter panel at all. Our body man John went through and aligned the trunk lid to the existing original quarter panel, and then he aligned the door to the quarter panel. And ideally you want the fender on the car too, so that you can get all of the panels in alignment properly. So when you remove the quarter, the door edge and the trunk lid edge are all in their right places, which will help you align the new panel when you go to assemble it on the car. This reproduction quarter panel from OPGI is a brand new stamping. They finally just came out with full quarter panels going all the way up to the roof for the 65 Chevelle.
Scott used a combination of tools to remove the original quarter panel. First, pilot holes were drilled through the original spot welds to make their removal easier. Then, Scott used a cutoff wheel to cut through the spot welds. These are located all around the perimeter of the panel, in the door jamb, the trunk seal area, around the window, the taillight area, and along the bottom of the panel. He eventually decided to speed things up and used the cutoff wheel and the plasma torch to remove a large section of the center of the panel to gain easier access to the remaining spot welds. With a large piece out of the way, Scott continued on the details with the grinding wheel, a cutoff wheel, a spot weld drill, and an air chisel to gently separate the remaining pieces from the body shell. Don't forget the inside supports that are not visible from the outside of the car. After the remaining pieces were removed, Scott used a 3M Scotch-Brite wheel to clean and prep the wheelhouse, and then sprayed a layer of black epoxy primer on the inner structure to keep it all from rusting.
Our new panel was able to fit pretty well just by kind of slipping it in place.
It's pretty nice. It's one of the best units I've seen. The body lines are nice and crisp. Overall, the fitment it's pretty well spot on. Just a couple gripes, I guess. It's a little short up here in this area. As you can see, it doesn't quite meet up to the factory spot welded areas, but that's an easy fix. Just some more plug welds through this area, no problem, and we'll plug weld the rest of these just to fill them. Now we got this new quarter panel because our old one, it was kind of bashed up in this corner, and it'd be a real bear to fix. And since OPGI just came out with this new full quarter, and it comes all the way to this tail light pocket, it's perfect for us, and it fits real nice all the way around back here. One other area where the stamping is just a little short is up in this corner here. This piece of the quarter should meet up to this piece on the inside, but in our case it doesn't. But we have an old quarter that we can cut what we need from there to fill this gap, so it shouldn't be much problem.
The new panel is going to attach to the car the exact same way that the original one did, and that is through a series of plug welds and spot welds. And that's the nice thing about doing a complete panel replacement, is that you basically disassemble the body shell and then reassemble it the same way it was when it was new, so you don't have any visible seams or any evidence that the repair ever took place when it's finished. It's nice and clean. So Scott went through and used our HTP pneumatic punch tool to punch a bunch of holes wherever the plug welds were to occur, and then the spot welds will happen later with the HTP spot weld gun, and there really isn't any panel preparation that needs to happen for that. The test fitting procedure goes on and on. You have to install the panel and remove it and check things and put it back on and do this over and over again to make sure that it fits right in the door jamb area, around the trunk lid. But once you start doing test fits, you'll start to realize if the panel has any shortcomings. And we noticed the very top of the door jamb area was a couple inches shorter than the original panel. So Scott took some time to cut that piece out of our original quarter panel and used a TIG welder to reattach the top little section to our new panel, and then he ground it smooth and primed it up, and you could never tell it was ever replaced at that point. Another thing to consider is that if the car has trim, like around the window, around the taillights, around the trunk lid, to make sure that you install that trim so that you know it's going to line up before the quarter panel is fully welded.
Hey Nick, what are you doing?
I'm taking the trim off the back of the 65 Chevelle. John just got done aligning all the trim up as it would be when it's finished, so that when it goes ready for paint, it gets painted, all the trim goes back on, and it looks straight how it's supposed to be.
So John used the trim of the trunk lid and the trim of the taillight pockets to ensure that he was lining the trunk lid and the quarters up correctly?
Yeah, when the trim's on, when the deck lid's all aligned with the quarter, the trim gets aligned, and if this matches and this matches, we're good. If not, then we have to tweak one or the other.
Tweaking, that's what we do here.
Yeah, we tweak it just a little bit.
And then we handed the project over to John to do the very final tweaking and massaging to make it fit really well, because that's his area of expertise.